There'll be a recording. We have got a Q&A session towards the end, so if you can use chat for any questions you may have, and we'll try and pick them up in the chat during that session. And if you could just remain on mute when the presenters are speaking. But without any further ado, I will hand over to Mark, who I believe is first on the agenda.
Thanks, Tracy. Well, welcome everybody, and lovely to see so many of you all. I'm Mark, I'm the CEO of Northamptonshire Carers, and then I also sit on the ICB board and proud to be a partner governor of NHFT, and then just about to join the Carers Trust National Board as well. So we'll bring in some of that kind of national picture as we go through the day as well. So obviously, and you'll accept I'm totally biased on this, but carers are a really important and critical group of people. When we talk about carers in this sense, we're talking about informal carers, so people who look after someone in their family or a friend with various illnesses, disabilities or health conditions. There are a great many of them in Northamptonshire. So the last census data tells us that we've got approximately 60,000 carers in the county, and then probably about another 6,000 young carers. It's probably higher than that in reality, because that was taken still during the pandemic. So of course that would have affected some people who I suppose don't have the person living with them that they care for. So I think that figure is going to be higher the next time we have a look. And really, as you all know, because of the kind of demographic makeup of Northamptonshire, as in particularly the number of people that are over 65, it means that there's more and more carers going forward, because we've got ever more people who are living with long-term health conditions and different challenges, and particularly when we look at people over 75 and 85, we've got high percentages in the county in terms of population segmentation. So it's not only when we're talking about concepts of health and social care that carers are critical as a group in their own right, but they also happen to be looking after another huge percent of the population. So you're really got getting on for a tenth of the population that are looking after at least another tenth, and it's more than that, because some carers, as some of you will know, care for more than one person as well. An interesting risk stratification issue in some of those statistics are that we're seeing ever more instances of one elderly and frail person being looked after by another elderly and frail person as well. So that's something to think about in terms of service design and delivery, really. There's also something I think is really important about looking at carers' own health needs within that context. Carers are an identified health inequality area in their own right. All the data and research tells us that carers are twice as likely to become ill as the general population, and are at a heightened risk of anxiety, depression, and mental health issues. Some of that's not at all surprising when you think what a carer does every day, and also the fact that some caring roles can go across many years. So I think particularly when we're looking as a system, and I think it's a special area as well that I know Northamptonshire Carers and NHFT really look at and do a lot of work in, it's around carers' own health needs, and it's around seeing carers as part of that mental health landscape as well. So in the webinar today, we're going to be having a bit of a concentration on working carers, so people of working age, but really a good deal of what we're going to tell you and talk to you about is around carers across the board, really. I think we speak from a really good position in Northamptonshire. There's been some great work going on for many years. There's been some great partnership work between NHFT and Northamptonshire Carers. But there's always the opportunity to do more. There's always the opportunity to look at those areas of need, and obviously you'll know from some of what I've told you that some of those need areas are growing. So we'll have a look at services and support today. We'll listen to some carer stories. We're going to have a quick look at carers' rights, some of the work that's going on within NHFT, and then information, advice and guidance for carers as well. And we'll talk a little bit about the Carers Directory, which was done in partnership with the 2 local authorities and the ICB as part of accelerated reform funding work. And then we'll finish up with a question and answer session. Hopefully we'll get to a fair few of those, but anything that we don't get to, we'll send out some answers to those later on as a follow-up. So if we could just start then, could have the slide pack up, please, if that's okay, just to look at the carer services in the county.
Do you want me to do that, Mark?
Yeah, if you could have a go first,
Yeah,
Tracy, that would be good. Yeah, it's lovely. The next one then, Tracy, if that's okay.
Oh, sorry, I can't actually see the slides. This is well, you can't.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, we can see them. So
there
that's the main thing. Thank you.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's smashing. So try to do a kind of a view on a page of what there is, and then there's lots more information that will send you the links to access as well. So the areas to particularly highlight, I think, within this are, from a Northamptonshire carers point of view, this is an all age model. So this is from young carers through to adult carers. There's definitely something important about central access in this, and we'll give you information on kind of how people can refer. We take professional referrals and self referrals as well. We deliver the statutory duties for both local authorities around carers assessments and support and information, advice and guidance. There's some obviously, like we'll talk to you about the directories. There's a website which we're doing a lot of work on at the moment, so we'll have a new website launch soon. And then we're doing some really exciting work around digital transformation and platforms through Bridget Care, who are linked to a piece of work with Carers Trust as well. So that's something that's rolling out across the country. And so that will give people an enhanced way to get in touch with us and find out information as well as the delegated statutory duty around adult carers assessments. We also do the same for young carers. So there's something interesting, I think, in the context of this webinar and what I was saying about kind of carers' own health needs, and some of those would be well-being and mental health needs, but also, of course, a lot of the people that are getting in touch with us are looking after somebody that's on those mental health pathways as well. We've got a really good group offering in all the different localities of the county. Some of those are carer support groups, some of those are specialist groups. And then we've also got, you'll see down on the right hand side of the screen, we also do a set of long-term health condition community asset groups. And those groups basically are the conditions listed there, and we've also got some new ones that have started around neurodiverse adults, and we'll have some new ones around acquired brain injury. They really are a kind of a mixture between long-term health condition support and group consultation type models, and we're really pleased to work with clinicians from NHFT in some of those groups as well, and they're proving really beneficial. They're for the looked after person, so the person with the health condition and the carer, and so there's a set of things there, and all the data and research is showing us that people that are accessing those groups are less likely to use primary and secondary care services as well, and that's also fits in very nicely with NHS 10-year plan goals around those 3 key left shifts. We also provide carers breaks in different ways. Some of those are through regulated care, and then some of them are through a volunteer community companion service. And then there's different trips, activities and events that are on for carers throughout the year as well. We've got a set of regulated care services, as well as those breaks that I was mentioning. We've also got an overnight care service that's commissioned through the ICB, and that helps to either aid a hospital discharge or prevent a hospital admission, and that can put anything from 1 to 5 nights into somebody's home to support with that. And then there's also another set of hospital discharge support, which is around helping people to make sure things like their house is in a good state when they're discharged. Sometimes that can be cleaning, sometimes that can be things like decluttering, it can be fitting key safes, it can be getting key pieces of equipment in. And then also as part of that, obviously we identify carers as part of that pathway work as well, and so there's a good opportunity to pick people up and tap them into other services as well. There's a very well used young carer service as part of what we do. Really pleased to receive some additional national lottery funding for that. Another area where we work really closely with NHFT is in terms of the Ageing Well transformation programme. So some of that work is via those long-term health condition groups that I mentioned. There's some dementia specialist support and services in there as well. And then as have NHFT, we've also got members of multidisciplinary teams within all the PCNs as well. So they've got they've got a carer specialist from our organisation as well. And then other voluntary sector organisations like Age UK and Alzheimer's Society are also part of those MDTs, along with primary care and adult social care staff. And that programme, the Ageing Well programme, was highlighted as an area of good practice for the county in the NHS operating plan this year under neighbourhoods. So that's a really good example of how we're all working together in that integrated care space. And then there's also some work around carer training and information as well. So that's that in a nutshell. A bit of a whistle-stop tour. We'll circulate this, and then also some links around where to find other information out as well. I'm remarkably sticking to time at this point, which is good. So I'll try and keep that up as we go along. So I think the next thing we've got on the agenda is some information and some stories from Carers by Experience, and that's Jane Evans and Sue Cotton.
Thank you, Mark. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Jane Evans, worked in NHFT and its former existences since 1984. But just over 12 years ago, my husband got diagnosed with terminal cancer. And at the time I was managing in NHFT, I was managing quite a few services as a service manager. And it walloped both of us, this diagnosis, and it ended up after several weeks of a big round of trips backwards and forwards to Oxford for treatment, but trips backwards and forwards to Northampton General for treatment. And for all of those appointments, I had to take annual leave. After 2 years of him having chemotherapy every 3 weeks, I found that I only had 2 days worth of annual leave left out of my whole entitlement for my own well-being. My manager knew the situation, didn't question why I was taking the annual leave like it was, and after 2 years, I was nearly on my knees. I was very fortunate. A couple of things happened after that 2 years, because I really don't think I would have been able to carry on working. My manager changed. My new manager started questioning why I only ended up with 2 days of annual leave a year. Well, questioning why I'd got a pattern like it was. And when she found out the reason, and I'd only got 2 days of annual leave, she put something in place to try and help me with that. She provided me with what we would now call reasonable adjustments, which meant I could work longer hours on some days, and that gave me time to go to Northampton General twice a week, every 3 weeks, to be able to be with him for his chemotherapy, and also down to Oxford for treatment in the respiratory team down there. They swapped the treatment from Northampton to Kettering, which helped because we only needed to go on 1 day instead of 2 days. So that reduced the number of hours I needed to be out of work. And it made a difference to me because I was nearly on my knees, as I say, and I would have had to have left my job. So one of the things that we try to do in NHFT now, as I co-chair the Working Carers Network with Nicola Best, is that we try and help managers understand what the impact is of looking after somebody who is ill, or somebody that has got a long-term health condition, or somebody that's neurodivergent, all the extra stresses on them. It's not just the day-to-day work stresses. There's other things that happen. I don't know whether any of you know anything about cancer, but people with cancer often get very sweaty. So I'd find myself washing bedclothes every day, washing pillows every day. My husband was that poorly mentally and physically, he couldn't make any food. So I was having to leave food for him and bottles of drink for him, because otherwise he wouldn't have been well enough to get them for himself. And then you get home and you're filling up the drink bottles again and you're making food again. And it was very, very tiring. That carried on for a long time. And unfortunately, I lost him in June this year. Very hard after all that time. I'm going to get upset again after all that time of looking after him. But we had a carers event last month to celebrate our 10-year anniversary of having a Working Carers Network in NHFT. I started the network and was co-chairing with Lisa Hibbins for a long time. And at that event, Jackie Faulkner Blake talked about caring from a distance. And I couldn't actually believe, I suddenly realised not only was I working full time, managing 9 different services and caring for my husband, I realised I was also a distance carer for my mother who'd got dementia. And I was helping my sisters with that. And I only realised that last month. And I'm speaking to you as a former carer, but again, I've realised I'm not actually a former carer, because my husband when he was well, used to take his auntie to appointments at the hospital. And I've picked that up. So I'm still caring, even though I'm a former carer. I think the biggest message I can say to people here is that when you're working in the NHS, you sometimes think that this caring it comes naturally to you. And it does come naturally to you, but it's very difficult to be aware that you're a carer. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with Hugh Jones, I realised that's what I was. And he put me in touch with Nicola and Jackie Faulkner Blake, the Northamptonshire Carers. And that's why we started the Working Carers Network. And I've met Mark at different meetings and things like that. And you suddenly realise what a big thing it is that you're doing. And it can be very draining on yourself. Yeah, I didn't go bonkers, but I would have gone bonkers if some of those changes hadn't have happened in my life. So I'm going to now pass on to Sue Coton. I work with Sue. I know Sue's story. It's similar, but very different to mine. Sue.
Hello everyone, my name's Sue Coton. I'm an Equality and Inclusion Support Officer at NHFT. I work within the EDI team and I help support all staff networks. I guess I've been a carer for my mum since my dad died in 2004. Back then I was living in Northampton, but I would go over every weekend, help her with her finances, take her shopping. They'd had a very traditional marriage. My dad did the boy jobs and my mum did the girl jobs sort of thing. So she wasn't very good with finances and stuff. Then in 2012, I was given a diagnosis of treatable but incurable cancer, and I was treated at Addenbrooke's. It was a long old slog from Northampton, so we made the decision that we would extend her house and I would move back and live with her. She could look after me when I was poorly. I could look after her. I was off work for about 5 months and she did look after me. I then became a full-time carer for her in 2019. She had a fall where she broke and dislocated her shoulder and her wrist. Due to other health complications, they couldn't operate. So she still got a broken shoulder, and she's right-handed and it's her right shoulder. So she can't really do a lot. Her mobility was quite good until March this year when she had a nasty fall. Then she had another fall. It really knocked her confidence. So now she doesn't really go around the house by herself. She's nearly 92. She can't really walk unaided and she can't be left alone. So I care for her full time. This includes personal care, emotional care, appointments, medication, and everything else. She's in constant pain, but it's fairly upbeat. As Jane will tell you, she knows my mum. The role reversal was really odd at the time, but it just kind of happened. And now I almost feel like I'm the adult and she's dependent on me. I've got 3 brothers who don't live very close, but they offer emotional support. But because I live with my mum, all the practical support is down to me. They do come and look after her on occasions if I can't get out. When I joined NHFT 2.5 years ago, I asked if my job, I could do it in 30 hours because that would enable me to have appointments outside of work. It's really difficult when you've got a long-term health condition to have appointments and then try and make up all the time. You're constantly fatigued from caring anyway. So yes, they said yes. I've got an amazing line manager, an amazing team. They're all very supportive. I have support from Jane, I have support from Nicola, the Working Carers Network. So it's enabled me to stay employed. I work from home most of the time, and if I couldn't, I don't think I could work. I had to go into work on Monday this week, and that brings a whole other, range of things. I had to get up early, had to prepare a lunch and everything. I don't live in Northamptonshire now, I live in Bedfordshire, but through the adult social care there, we had an assessment and we were offered what they call a sitting service. So it's actually a free service. They assessed how often they could come out. So I just have to book things with them, and which means I can go out and do things. The only drawback is they're most often late and nothing is spontaneous. It all has to be booked, but it does mean that I can go out if I pre-think about it and pre-book it. I've got several friends who are carers in Bedfordshire as well. One of my friends lives down in Portsmouth, so I've got people to talk to in a similar situation. I do get very tired. I get up in the night with my mum, and she's got a condition where she can't control her temperature. So like Jane said, quite often in the night we're changing beds, and then that's more washing, etc. But I guess I feel it's a privilege to look after my mum, and I would just do it again in a heartbeat. You only get one mum. That's my story.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, Jane, for your story. So I can feel the emotion coming through both of you there. I'm sure everyone really appreciates you sharing your stories with us. So I know that must be quite hard to share those stories, but also there's a positive side to those stories as well. So thank you very much. I think we are now back with you, Mark. Is that correct? We're back with you.
Thank you. Tracy, if you could get the slide at the on carers' rights, that'd be great. Well, just wanted to say thanks so much to Jane and Sue for sharing their stories. It's really powerful to hear that. I think something that shines through, and a lot of things happen in life for a lot of reasons, and there's a lot of motivation for a lot of things, but caring is one of those unique things, because actually what motivates that is love, as we saw in those stories. Couple of really interesting statistics for you. 1 in 3 of us are either in or will be in a caring role in our lifetimes. And then here's a number cruncher for you. Carers UK do a piece of research with some of the universities, and it looks at trying to quantify the costs that carers save the state each year by doing their caring roles. The figure for this year, wait for it, was 184 billion pounds. That would be the cost of replacing what carers do. As a matter of interest, the entire NHS budget for the UK is 189 billion. So it's like a second NHS. It's a parallel health system that's being provided by carers. So just wanted to talk briefly about carers' rights, and really, and we'll circulate these slides. There's a couple of slides. We'll circulate them plus some links of where to find out more detailed information about them. But in essence, carers' rights fall into a number of key areas. The first one is that there are a number of rights underneath the Care Act, and that's around things like assessments, access to vaccination programs, information, advice and guidance. Carers should also be given the option about whether they're able or want to care, and that's a really important thing. You've heard firsthand just then about some of the strains of that, and the thing about the caring role, of course, is when you're getting a snapshot into it, people do that every day, and people do that every day, sometimes for years upon years as well. So there's a set of things that are under the Care Act. If you could have the next slide as well, Tracy, that would be great. There's also, and it was mentioned in the Care Act, and it's mentioned again here a little bit, there's also protection against discrimination under the Equalities Act as well. And then, and some of these are relatively new and very welcomed, and there's still some way to go in terms of ensuring really strong, good rights for carers. But there's a set of things that are around employment rights and your rights at work, in essence. So there's a set of statutory rights, and then there may also be some other protection under your contractual rights as a carer as well. Jane told us a very powerful story about how initially the fact that she was a carer wasn't picked up at work, and then it was picked up. And Jane told us very powerfully that she was able to stay and work because of that. So there's also something really important for employers, and it's never whatever the moral reasons might be for supporting somebody to be able to stay and work. It obviously doesn't make any economic sense to lose really good staff. So trying to identify people as carers and supporting them is a really important thing for employers. There's also a set of things around flexible working and rights there to request that. There's rights to both carers leave and time off in emergencies. That's really great that that's there. That's an unpaid right at the moment, but still really good that it's there. And then there's also things that we would of course say that good employers put in place as well. I think when you think how many carers there are in the country, how many people. I think it's we'll look on one of the other slides a bit later, but I think it's about nearly 8 million people is the latest estimate that are working and caring. Obviously, that's a huge economic contribution as well in the UK. So the best ways to support carers to try and help them balance those different things at different times, and that produces a whole set of not just good outcomes for that carer and their family, but also very good outcomes for employers as well. So we'll circulate these slides, and then we'll circulate where to find out more information from. We've got some good stuff on our website, and then also both Carers UK and Carers Trust have got some excellent information on there as well. Okay, that now takes us to the next part of the agenda. So that's Working Carers Network and planning and strategy. We're going to look at the staff networks and the work plan. And I think Jane and Nicola are going to talk to us about that.
Should we have the next slide, Tracy? Right, I've already introduced myself, so you know who I am, Jane Evans. I actually retired from full-time employment in 2021, but I came back to work on Staff Bank, and I got asked to cover the what was the disability network. And then when Lisa, through change in her personal circumstances, meant she couldn't carry on with the Working Carers Network, I offered to support that as well. Very fortunately for me, Nicola Best was available, and Nicola's joined the network now, so I co-chair. I'm just going to disappear off screen because my battery's running low. I think I've forgotten to plug in, but I think Nicola's going to do these next slides.
I thought you were going to do 1 and 2, but I can do those if your battery's running low.
Yeah, you're doing 2 and 3, Nicola. So this is number 2.
Okay.
Oh no, I am doing them. Yes, I'll be there. Sorry, I do apologise.
We know what we're doing, really. Whilst Jane's doing that, I'll introduce myself. So my name's Nicola Best. I worked at Northamptonshire Carers for 27 years, took voluntary redundancy from there and came back on board for, I'm just introducing myself while you sort your plugs out.
Yeah, done it.
So I've come on board with NHFT, working with the Recovery College as a peer trainer, and then now I've joined the bank, and really pleased to be working with Sue and Jane with the Working Carers Network. So over to you, Jane.
Right, yeah. So one of the things that we're trying to do with our Working Carer Staff Network in NHFT is get people to understand that they're a carer, because it took a long time for it to be recognised I was a carer for my husband, and it was the 2 years. And that's what Carers UK are saying. Last year when they did the survey, it takes 2 to 3 years for people to recognise themselves as a carer. And the other thing that I've been looking at is the number of carers across the county. And we're looking at the different councils, because we've got the 2 unitary authorities, and they're very, very differently. They report on the number of carers very differently. But I've had a look at it. Mark will probably know the figure. I've added them together, and it looks like there's 64,000 carers across the county. Now, 50% of these are the informal, unpaid carers like I was. So we're unpaid, we're working full-time or part-time, and you're doing things in your job that isn't in care. So that's an awful lot of people. So that's 32,000 people that are working across the county. And NHFT, Northampton General and Ketchum General in the health services were massive employers of people. So there's going to be a lot of people working in those services that are working in healthcare as well. Are we able to do the next slide, Tracy, please? So we've looked at the staff surveys, and nationally, 32% of NHS staff say they're providing unpaid care. In NHFT, our staff survey, 38% of staff answered that they were caring for someone. Now, this isn't parents of children that have no needs. This is people that are caring for somebody that has a long-term health condition, is neurodivergent or got a different disability, or somebody that's elderly and frail. So that's a lot of members of staff in NHFT. Over 1,000 people in NHFT are working carers, and they're the ones that answered yes to the question. We have got some work to do on that. We think there are a lot more people that are caring. Because I chair the Enable network, we have discovered there's an awful lot of people that are in that network that have health concerns themselves. When they're talking, we discover they're caring for somebody else with a health concern. Very often that's neurodivergent children. So I think the figure's a lot higher. And one of the things we're trying to do is to get managers to realise that up to 40% of their staff are working carers. That's a huge number of people. But unless they're aware of it and unless they're looking for the signs of it, it could be missed. And we might have people leaving the organisation or having to drop their hours or having to leave and then come back and work on the bank because they're carers, because it hasn't been recognised and they don't recognise it themselves. They just realise they can't manage anymore. And that's what we're trying to avoid in NHFT. So we're doing a lot of work around that. And I think, Nicola, you'll be able to explain a little bit about that now.
Yeah, so if we can have the next slide, Tracy, if you don't mind. Okay, so as Jane has painted the picture, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work being done. We began back in 2015. So myself and Jackie Faulkner Blake literally accosted Hugh Jones in the corridor at Northamptonshire Carers and said, "What are you doing about carers?" And he said, funnily enough, I need to be looking at that. So we've started working together. So the network kind of began there. Hugh then involved Jane and Lisa, and kind of the rest has gone on from there. So we were lucky enough to celebrate a couple of weeks ago our 10-year anniversary. So this roadmap reflects kind of key landmarks that along the journey. So it will be sent out. I apologise, it's in quite small font, but it will be sent out with the information. So we started meeting regularly. It helped people working through COVID. The feedback from staff was, from a number of staff, was that it actually kept them going. It gave them a lifeline through very difficult times. We started up a committee. We were very pleased to be shortlisted for a Health Service Journal Award. Sadly, the year that we were nominated and were highly recommended, it was online. So we had Lenny Henry giving us our reward on television in our living rooms. But the following year, I was lucky enough to be able to go along to help celebrate with another award. So that was an amazing commendation. The special leave policy is another very special thing, because as Mark talked about unpaid leave, that NHFT took the decision for paid leave, and that's always being looked at. It's something that we were talking about on Monday with all the other staff networks. It's something that's in our operational work plan to keep looking at what's needed and what makes a difference and the reasonable adjustments and all of that. A carer's passport was developed. So if somebody applies to be to join the staff network in NHFT, they get sent lots of information through with some previous people's stories with a passport. Jane and I can support them. We can help them meet with their manager if that's what they need. And we're looking at revamping that format at the moment, so it's a lot more accessible for people who have perhaps some neurodiversity or perhaps some visual issues, so that's being looked at. So yeah, lots going on. We had, I was lucky enough when I was at Northamptonshire Carers to be working with NHFT with Jackie Faulkner Blake, where we looked at carer-friendly employers. So we reached out to the private sector, where we worked alongside Nationwide, the police, all sorts of other people. So we've built our learning and our contacts, and me coming on board with Jane now, it kind of gives us a chance to pick some of that back up, because obviously there wasn't funding to continue that within Northamptonshire Carers. So that's the roadmap. So that's the first 10 years. So what's next? So Tracy, if you could put the next slide out, that'd be great. Thank you. So yeah, 10th birthday, pink shiny blow up balloon. I'd rather have a helium one, but we haven't got that. So, you know, we could spend ages talking about the key issues, and Jane and I have about 3 3/4 hours a week each. So, you know, there's limits to what we can do. But some of the key areas are on here. So as part of the Working Carers Network, we now have a peer support group for people who are carers of somebody who is neurodivergent, and that's growing, and we're getting lots of new referrals in, so lots of new people to support, which is brilliant. As I said, we're looking at the Carers Passport. We're looking at linking more closely with our Reach network, which is growing and very active, but also the other staff networks as well, the LGBTQ+, the Jane mentioned Enable, and the Cancer Network. So lots of work still to be done. What I would say as well, working with managers to ensure consistency, that's really important to us, to make sure that really we do retain our staff. We're not completely there, we're not perfect, but I think I would definitely say that NHFT is really, really caring. It fits in with Thrive, our way forward. It fits in with the NHS 10-year plan, and it fits in with our carers strategy, which is ongoing. So there's lots of brilliant work going on, thinking, and you'll hear about the triangle of care, which is another element which Sharon will tell you a bit more about in a moment. So hopefully that gives you a taster.
Thanks, Nicola. Tracy, could we have the last slide, please? So this is animated. I'm going to take my glasses off so I can see. So this is how we support the staff, or how NHFT supports staff who are working carers. We've got our network. We have monthly peer support group meetings. We do the individual support that Nicola was talking about, and also we try and support managers. We're getting more and more managers coming to us saying, you know, I'm concerned. I've got this lady who's looking after either a neurodivergent child. I had somebody recently whose husband had got a terminal cancer diagnosis like my husband, and it was a really good discussion with the manager looking at different options. And also we've got Northamptonshire Carers. Great resource. Always go to Mark. There's usually a link person. We've just the latest link person's gone, but we've got link person, and also I know Jackie as well, Jackie Faulkner Blake, so that helps. Can we have the next? Every network has an executive sponsor in NHFT. Ours is Dion Mayhew, and she absolutely gets it. Dion did a wonderful video for us for our 10-year celebration, but she absolutely gets it, what it's like to be a working carer. So we're very grateful for her support. Can we have the next slide, please? Next bit. Yeah, we also get supported by David Ledger. Now, David is the manager for the EDI team. He's actually Sue Coton's manager, and also mine and Nicola's manager. And Kushbu, who's one of the HBU partners, she is dedicated to looking at people that are working carers, and also she supports the Enable network. So that's really useful to have that support. Next slide, next bit. Thank you. We've got the special leave policy and the reasonable adjustment guide. That has been mentioned. There's 5 days a year special leave that's paid if you're a carer, and then you can have a further 5 days unpaid a year. So that does make a difference. We are looking at that because that is for emergencies. And as my own circumstances were, it wasn't the emergencies that was the difficult problem. It was the frequent appointments that meant I was using leave. So we want to look at that, and that's something we're going to be working on, whether we can change that within NHFT. We also get supported up with the Freedom to Speak Up Guardians. Luke Sullivan's Freedom to Speak Up. Unfortunately, Beth's not able to work at the moment, so I'm stepped into Freedom to Speak Up for a while till Beth's able to come back to work. Next bit, Tracy, please. One thing that's made a huge difference in NHFT to all of the networks is the programme of Excellence in Leadership training for managers. There's a whole day dedicated to staff networks and reasonable adjustments and things that managers can do to help retain their staff. That has meant there's been a huge increase in managers advising staff, recognising that staff are either suffering because of health problems, suffering because of being a working carer or having additional needs, and they're referring them into the network. So we're probably getting 2 to 3 new members virtually every week. So that's excellent. It's really good. And the last bit, the biggest thing is the Working Carers Network members. Peer support's vital. It's one of the most important things, listening to each other's stories, but also it's about that advice. So my experience of looking after my husband has ended now, but I've got lots of knowledge of things I found out during my journey, and I can pass that on to other people. So even though somebody might be a former carer, we still encourage them to come into the meetings or be an active member of the network, because they've got so much knowledge and they can help somebody else. We are very fortunate that Angela is very keen on the staff networks, and she's allowed each network to have a whole day's worth of support paid for by the trust. And I've worked in a big group right across the whole region that went from Derby all the way down to near the south coast. And there are so many NHS trusts where the chairs of the networks have to do it in their own time, or they might get an hour a week or an hour a month, and some of them don't get any time at all that's paid and released out of their day job. You can't do the influencing work when you're doing that. You've only got to speak to one member of staff and you've used up that whole week's worth of time that you're allocated. So it's really important, I think, for people to recognise where NHFT is concerned, how much value is put on the staff networks and how we can help people stay at work and working in NHFT. And I've got lots of friends that have worked in other organisations, and I have to say, I think NHFT is one of the best when it comes to looking after the staff. Okay, that's us, I think.
Thank you, Jane, for that. Sounds like there's lots going on with the Working Carers Network, so I'm sure we'll circulate all the slides to make sure people have got the information. I think I'm now handing over to Sharon Gibbard, who's going to talk about Carers Corner and the Triangle of Care. So I will just get your, okay with your own slides, Sharon, that's fine.
I'll try.
Excellent.
I'll try.
I will let you drive.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hi everybody. It's lovely to be here. Thank you very much for giving me a little bit of space. I'm going to have to talk really quickly, I think. So I'm sorry if I mumble. I can answer any questions later on. So yeah, my name's Sharon Gibbard. I care and have cared for somebody for all their life, really, who I love very much, who has a severe and enduring mental health difficulty. And that led me into NHFT, not as a staff member, but as a volunteer, to try and bring my lived experience as a carer to bring positive change in the trust for other carers, just like Jane said about bringing your knowledge and sharing that. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. And within, well, just about a year ago now, I was given a role within the trust as a lived experience lead. There's 4 of us. I'm just part-time, and my remit is really around adult mental health. So for any carers that are here today supporting people with mental health difficulties, I get it. I understand, and hopefully this will reassure you that we do care, and this is what we're trying to do in NHFT to reach our carers and to support you. So I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm going to start with our carer strategy. We went out
Sorry, just to interrupt you for a minute. Is there a way you can get it on the presentation mode, because we can't see it full screen at the moment?
Oh, can't you? Do you want to take over then, Tracy? Because I shall faff about otherwise.
Yeah, do you want me to share your slides? That's
yeah,
fine.
Please. Yeah, please. That's great. Thank you.
Bear with me 2 seconds. I'll get that.
I didn't realise it wasn't on full screen.
It'll be showing any second now. Just let me know when you want me to move over.
Thank you. Yeah, so you'll just have to click through these, please, Tracy, if you keep clicking. So so all of these places we went out to because it was really important that we got carer voices from across the county for our carer strategy. And so all of these different places we went and we asked for voices, and we still do that now. this one down here, patient and carer race equality framework, it's a bit of a mouthful, but I agree with everything that everybody said. Is we really do need to reach our more vulnerable groups and some of our marginalised groups as well for carers. I think that's still a lot of work that we need to carry on. Next slide, please, Tracy. So we listen to carers' voices and we put them all together in a very simple carer strategy for NHFT by simply answering what carers needed. And that's what our strategy is about. It comes from the carers. And so in answering that need already, these are a few things that we've managed to do within NHFT. Some of them, hopefully you'll have heard about. Some of them you may not have done. So we have carer peer support workers. Peer support workers are people that have or still have lived experience, like myself, of supporting somebody through their mental health journey. And we also have carer peer support workers on our crisis response unit, which in other words is like a mental health ambulance. And we have one of those in the county too, because we listen to carers about what they wanted. It's very difficult in crisis for a carer to actually being able to speak, because everybody's supporting the service user, which is absolutely right. But as you know, carers can add so much information to support that service user's journey where possible. So we do have peer support workers there. We have input into all of the crisis houses, into the telephone line that you ring up at 24 hours, that has a carer's line on it now. And we also have recently co-produced, that means staff and carers and service users all working together for some information around confidentiality and information sharing, which anybody who's a carer knows that when the person you're supporting hits 18, that can become quite difficult, and even more so if mental health or poor mental health is there as well. It can be really difficult. So we co-produce some principles for service users, staff, and also for carers, which are very simple and which hopefully dispel the myth a little bit and help carers to understand that they will be listened to and they should expect to be listened to at all times. As carers, I know that I wanted to learn as much as I could, and we have our recovery college in NHFT free for all carers and service users under services, and we've got carers courses in there. And we've also got funding for 6 more carers courses. We were quite concerned about emotional support for carers, because quite often we are able to give practical help and we can give advice, but what do we do about the emotions that we carry as carers as well? So that's been covered in those courses. The triangular care I'll move on to in just a second, just to say that within inpatients now we're really working hard on involving carers wherever possible, or supporters or trusted others, however the carer likes to identify with, to be involved as much as possible, and even where there's not consent, to still be listened to and heard and respected and cared for their own well-being. All the things down the side here, you can see these are all our different things that we've done as well in co-production. One thing that's very, very important here, and we're really fortunate tonight, we have Dr. Krishna with us. Dr. Krishna is absolutely amazing in my eyes, and many other people here, I'm sure, in that he cares for carers, and he not only cares for carers, he puts his own time into that, and makes all the difference for many, many people. So Krishna and I have co-facilitated what we call Carers Corner, which is a support group in inpatients for around 6 years now. We have got spin-off groups in Meadowbank, which is one of our locked rehab wards, and also in our CMHTs. And I'd like to introduce Krishna now to just tell us a little bit about Carers Corner, please.
Thank you, Sharon. Hello, everyone. Yeah, so Carers Corner has been going on for more than 6 years now. And initially we started as a fortnightly group, but now we made it weekly because people were asking for more support. And we've also started in Northampton, but we now cover the north of the county as well. So we alternate our meeting location between Berrywood and St. Mary's Hospital. We are well supported by Northamptonshire Carers. Someone from Northamptonshire Carers attends pretty much every meeting of Carers Corner. So I need to thank Northamptonshire Carers. I need to thank Mark for your support of Carers Corner. It makes a very big difference. The people who come from Northamptonshire Carers are very involved. They start supporting our carers straight away. They give them some very valuable advice and suggestions. So it's really fantastic to see that we are working together with Northamptonshire Carers. We also have carer peer support workers who come along and support us as well. And obviously, Sharon, you've been there from the very beginning, and you've always supported us throughout. And it would not have been possible without your support as well. The only thing I would like to say is that we still feel that we are missing out on supporting carers, especially new carers. People are not hearing about Carers Corner. Even the same thing about Northamptonshire Carers as well. People are not hearing about the Calm group and everything. So hopefully we can provide more publicity and let the carers know that there's a lot of support out there for them and encourage them to use more. Carers Corner is open to all carers now who are supporting a loved one with mental illness. And I hope we can continue to support more people in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna. And yeah, I'm going to embarrass him by saying he's an amazing man, but he really is. And, you know, we've been able to have Krishna's support in trying to get things up to strategic levels, in trying to make change, and it's happening, and it will continue to happen. So thank you very much, Krishna, for everything and for the care that you give. Could we have the next slide, please, Tracy? So very briefly then around the triangle of care. What is this triangle of care? Okay, so the triangle of care is a model of care that is held by the Carers Trust, which is one of our largest carers organisations nationally. And it is specifically for carers, families, supporters, trusted others of people with mental health difficulties. So it's specifically around mental health at this point. It's a 3-year model of care. And what it actually does is it looks at the best practice for carers. What can we do for carers to support them, to help them be involved, to help them understand, and also to stay well themselves? So it's actually a model of care that has to be bought by a trust. And it's a self-assessed model, but we also have critical friends that also come in to make sure that we're doing what we're promising to do within this model of care, which is actually more, it's more of a kind of support system to keep going on the things that we're already doing. And the reason why we went for it are twofold. One, it answers all of the carers' voices from that carer strategy. What carers said they want, we will have to evidence that we're providing that. So that will be amazing, because then we will know that it's not islets of good care, but it's spread across. And within the first year, that will be in all of our inpatient services, both adult and children, and all of our crisis services. So we'll keep you updated with that from the first year. In the second year, we'll be going out to our community mental health teams and to older adults. And that's, you know, when we can really start to bring about more change.
Yeah.
Yes, so it's based on 6 standards of care, and they are these. So carers and their essential role are identified, staff are carer aware and trained in carer strategies and carer engagement. There's policies and processes around confidentiality and sharing information. Defined posts responsible for looking after carers and supporting carers are in place, and a carer introduction to the service is available, a relevant one, with information in whatever language or whatever cultural needs or whatever that person needs, it's available. And that information would be for across the pathway, and that there's also a range of carer support services. Now, before we bought this model of care, what we did is I went round to every single ward on the inpatient in the inpatient hospitals, and also to every crisis service, because we felt it was really essential that we had staff buy-in before before we went further with this and actually bought it, because if the staff weren't going to be engaged and weren't really bothered, then it wasn't going to work. We knew the carers wanted it and needed it, but we needed that staff commitment as well. We'd only got through half of the wards, well, more than half, probably a bit more than half of the wards, and I was absolutely amazed that we got people coming forward saying, yeah, I want to be an identified person, I want to support carers, I want to be part of this going forward. And so we went to our directorate, the 3 directorates in NHFT, because it's going to go out across the whole trust over the 3 years, and they said, yeah, we'll buy it. We've listened to what you've said, and we will buy this in, and we'll also support you with it. So Adam Smith, who's our Director of Mental Health Services, actually our senior responsible person for this triangle of care going forwards. Could I have the next slide, please? So we've got those 6 standards that look really, really simple. Under each standard of the 6 of them, there's a list. I'm sorry, you probably can't see this very well. It's quite small, but basically it's what wards or services and what the Carers Trust have identified as really important things under the heading of that standard. So it takes you a little bit further. So you don't just identify who the carer is and log it in a certain place. You actually find out more about that carer. Are they a single mum? Are they struggling with anything? What support do they want themselves? What do they want to know? So we're looking more and more at, let's actually think about the carer and let's put in the right service and the right support around them, because that will keep, hopefully, the person they're supporting, helping their recovery, and also helping the well-being of the carer, which, as we've heard, it can be absolutely exhausting, and mental health can be a long-term commitment. Yes, so next slide, please, Tracy. So for me personally, and I think for many carers, in all of the carers we've spoken to through all the years, it's an accredited model of care. That means that there will be a kind of award after each year if we evidence that we are actually doing what we are expected to do for this model and for the Carers Trust. But for me, it's not even about the accreditation, it's about these differences. So just imagine, what if staff gave time every time they saw me to have a good conversation with me and support me? What if there was a friendly atmosphere wherever I went when I was visiting or when I was concerned with the person that I care for? What if there were so many carer groups to explore general and mental health, opportunities to learn from others, that peer support we talked about, learning about well-being, trauma and new emotions. We all know as a carer that we hold the trauma of the person we support, and that can get trapped inside us and we don't get help for that, and it's so needed. So we need more support groups that actually go that bit further. What if I was welcomed as a friend and a supporter of the triangle of care and supporting carers and my loved one? And what if staff accepted that I want to contribute for my loved one's benefit and for myself? I'm part of the team. And what if I was offered loads of information about the ward and the services, and videos were available that I could watch outside of the wherever it was best for me as a carer about different things? This is an important one. What if my faith and cultural and language needs were met? But they weren't just met, they were accepted and understood. And a named nurse was available. And if there wasn't one, then there'd be somebody else who'd be willing to talk to me. Next slide, please, Tracy. And what if I was valued and I was listened to and involved in all the planning from the beginning as a carer, and we all worked out together what to do if, for example, the person that I support became unwell, or if I became unwell through my caring role? And what if I was informed about the carer groups in the community, about Northamptonshire Carers, about the other support groups that are there, about the NHFT Recovery College, about consent and information sharing, safety planning, about all those difficult conversations and how I can make staff listen to me, how they would want to listen to me. And how about benefits and advanced directives and choices? There's so much that we are planning to do. And what if I had free courses as well on staying well? Well, you know, if all of those things were there for our carers, then eventually our caring role would kind of feel lighter, and we would have confidence in staff, and we would have confidence in our services, and we would know where to go for ourselves and for those people that we support. And then that would enable us to live a life outside of caring. And for me, it's just a win-win all round. It's a recovery focused model, and we are really fortunate that NHFT leadership did buy this in, and that the people that we've met and that we continue to meet, that we're supporting monthly and that we're working very closely with, will enable this to happen, because it has to happen. So yes, so that's the end of those slides. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Sharon. That was a whistle-stop tour through the Triangle of Care and Carers Corner, but hopefully that gives it a flavour of what's going on. And again, we'll share all the content with people who've attended and people who've booked, so they can see all the detail. So
if anybody wants any more information, Tracy, please do contact myself or Krishna. We're happy to come and talk to anybody about it.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon. And I think we now move on to our final main agenda item, and it's over to Gemma from Northamptonshire Carers. I think I've got your last two slides to share, haven't I? So let me just get those.
If you could, if not, I can share. Don't worry, thanks. Just while they're getting ready, I'll introduce myself. My name is Gemma Caife. I'm the Assistant Director for Adult and Young Carers at Northamptonshire Carers. I've been with the organisation for nearly 10 years now, so kind of overseeing the statutory duty and also obviously carer support for adult and young carers and a lot of the stuff that Mark went through earlier on. So thank you for kind of inviting me along tonight. Just kind of wanted to bring up the Unpaid Carers Guide, Northamptonshire Unpaid Carers Guide, which I'm hoping has been cascaded through certain channels to reach you, but obviously we will be sharing it obviously following tonight as well. So this was obviously one of the main things that came out of the carer strategies. So West and North carer strategies basically highlighted a guide of how to be an unpaid carer, which obviously we all know that none of us wake up and kind of find ourselves often doing. There's no training. We're not taught how to be an unpaid carer, and obviously listening to some of these stories again tonight kind of shows that. So this was something that I think has been wanting to be done for a long time, and this has taken kind of nearly 18 months actually to co-produce through North West local authorities and the ICB. So it's in a nutshell, although it's not, because it's around a 100-page document in obviously large print, everything from the start to an end of a unpaid carer's journey, and some of the main highlighted areas of what carers might seek support for. So it's a way in which the document you can use throughout the stages. Jane, to kind of confirm your maths and figures earlier, your 64,000 is about right to what we've got. As you said, they are reported slightly differently. I was trying to do the maths as you was talking. I was like, I think that's so. Yeah, there is obviously registered on census 31,000 roughly and 28,000 for West and North. Again, it's been highlighted quite a lot tonight that unpaid carers are not recognising themselves and often aren't accessing support. There is a lot of hidden carers out there that are not known to anybody, that are not kind of accessing any support. So it's a way in which this is another kind of tool to kind of enable those if they are seeking support to kind of use. So I'll pop it in now. If you go to the next slide, I've popped the link into the chat. Now I just wanted to make you aware that obviously this is version 1 with everything, and you will all be aware and know that things change very quickly within all of our areas of work. Services changes, who's kind of doing what, and information, whether that's legislation or whatever, is continually changing. So this is up to date as the launch, which was obviously about 2 weeks ago now. There is obviously a poster that we can also share with you. So please kind of promote that. It is downloadable, scannable for people via a QR code. It has currently been developed into 7 different language translations based on the top kind of ones for Northamptonshire. But this can be translated into any language upon request. There is also kind of easy reads and plain text versions for screen reads as well, all available obviously on our website. But like I said, if there is a need for different translations, we can do that. This is obviously, like I say, a live document, so it will be continually updated. We haven't kind of quite decided yet how often that will be, based on obviously so far we're already getting kind of requests, different kind of services and stuff like that. So that is totally kind of what this is about, kind of being co-produced just to make sure that every unpaid carer in Northamptonshire has got the most up-to-date and relevant information that they want to access. I don't know, I won't kind of do the link through this presentation now. Like I say, I've popped it into the chat, and if this is being cascaded and shared, the link for the online book, the ebook also, if that could be shared in the minutes for it as well. Okay, I think that's me, just very quickly, just an introduction to it. So please kind of let us know any feedback, anything like that. But yeah, share as much as you possibly can through your different kind of channels and networks.
Thank you, Gemma, for that explanation of the new guide. It sounds like it's interesting. We'll make sure that's shared again. So I think now we've got a bit of time left for any questions for any of our presenters. If we run out of time, just please do put your questions in chat and we'll make sure they're answered after the session. But does anyone have a question they want to ask? Just if you could raise your hand up or put it in the chat. Oh, Adam.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, no, it's been a really good to hear about all the great work that's going on in Northamptonshire. I was just had a question about the carer's passport and about how that works in relation to, does that help information sharing across, for example, GPs, the local authority? I saw earlier on about the idea of telling your story once. So once you've been kind of noted as a carer, does the carer's passport help to access support or for it to be noted that you're a carer, for example, by your GP or like I say, when you approach the local authority? Thanks.
Okay, Mark, I'll answer that. The Working Carers Passport is a document that is used just for staff of NHFT. It's used, it's filled in. We encourage managers and staff members who have working carers to fill it in together. Sometimes the members of the network prefer to fill it in before they go and see the manager and then change it when they talk to them. That's why we've got an editable form. But it is a document specifically for NHFT staff. It has been adapted for one. I think it came where it originally came from. Nicola, you might be able to fill me in on that, where it originally
came. It was British Telecom, wasn't it? But the civil servants had got a version. If you, Carers UK have got a webinar and a website where you can look up carers passports. What I would say, adding to what Jane said, is once you've got that format, you can use that how you like. You can share that with who you like. It's a bit like an educational healthcare plan or the old style statement. You can use that information. The purpose of it initially was if you change managers, you don't have to keep going over everything. But once you've done that information once, you've got it there and it's ready.
So you can use it, you could fill it in and take it, you could print it and take it to your GP, but it isn't something else that we would share. NHFT wouldn't share it with anybody else for you. No. But in the passport, you detail and you think about, what am I having to do? How is it affecting me at work? What would help me? What can the organisation do to help me? And it's where you can actually put down, this reasonable adjustment would really, really help me. This flexible working pattern would really, really help me. Because the whole point is to help staff stay in their jobs, allowing them to do the caring, but stay in their jobs. They might have to adjust their hours, but stay at work, because it's so expensive to recruit. And then you're losing all the knowledge and the skills of those members of staff if they have to go because of their caring responsibilities.
Thanks very much, both of you, for the answer. And I understand. So if people change jobs, you don't have to, the adjustments they've already got, they don't have to keep fighting for those again. No, I was conflating it with something else, because I heard that West Northamptonshire Carers, as part of the Accelerating Reform Fund, had developed a carers passport. So that's probably a different carers passport. But anyway, thank you very much for the response.
Okay, thank you.
Krishna, did you want to come in?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to ask something about the Carers Act 2014. Just something that I wanted to clarify, because one of the rights, according to that, says that the right for a carer to choose to be a carer or not. I'm not sure I understand that, because if your family member is poorly, I'm not sure if you have a choice, isn't it? You need to support your loved one. You will care for them either way or the other. You want to care for them also, even though it's stressful, but I'm not sure if you can refuse. So I just want to understand that a bit more.
Shall I answer that one? But you've hit the nail on the head there, really, Krishna. I think when you're a carer, you sometimes feel that that's the last thing that you can do. Why that's in the Care Act is more around, I think, statutory bodies not assuming that somebody's going to take on that role, and that there's an element of choice in it, and really in terms of good practice, it should come down to working with the carer about things that can support them to stay in that caring role. And really that's what the Act's saying, but it's more about, I think, a safeguard that statutory bodies shouldn't assume that people are going to do that. But you very eloquently explained the reality of the situation. That for a lot of carers, they don't regard that they've got a choice in that, and their choice is actually to care. So yeah.
Can I just come in on that? Because having done carers assessments at Northamptonshire Carers, I have met very few, but I have met some carers who didn't feel they could take on that role, either for their physical health or their mental health, or because of relationships, previous experiences and history. So there was also that responsibility as a worker to support those people, and to look at alternative support for that cared for person.
Yeah, it's a good point, Nicola, because of course there's also sometimes safeguarding and things like that can come into that, can't it? So yeah, there's definitely that nuance within there as well.
Thanks, Mark. I think Julie, you're next.
Yes, hello there. Well, I hope this fits to what this is all about. I certainly don't recognise myself as a carer. Well, both mine have passed away, but simply because I had paid care, but then the rest of the time I was the unpaid carer. So I hope that fits with a bit what you're saying. So long retired, but I wondered if there'd be anything for the have-been carers, which seemed quite important. I'm of no longer working age, although I am working in a way, but so it's all about retired carers, I suppose I'm saying, or have been carers. And do I recognise myself as having been a carer, even though I also had paid care? So it's just an interesting one for me to, I mean, certainly the time that carers weren't here, I was the unpaid carer. So does that fit with, what I'm thinking or not?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Mark knows me, so he'll know.
Yeah, absolutely, Julie. I mean, I think there's a set of things that we've got to support former carers. You're also selling yourself short, because one of the things that you're great at, and we've also heard from the likes of Jane earlier on, is getting that carer voice and that experience through that experts by experience route. So Julie, for example, is part of our people advisory group, and I think people who are people who are either walking that journey or have walked that journey are absolutely invaluable and need to be central in planning services going forward. And I know a lot of people on this call are either been in that position or are in that position. So trying to make sure that we utilise our experts by experience and lived experience is a really key part of that. And just the point about the fact that you have paid carers as well, Julie, that you're still a carer. It's just that that's part of,
you think
that's part of how that situation was supported, and that's what it should be about.
All the work I've done, and it's interesting, you know, that although my two loved ones have died, the journey never ends, if you know what I mean. It's still that you are in that journey. And to have some, because I sort of didn't know anything about the group or anything whatsoever. I mean, I just about knew NHFT, but I feel a bit bad that I didn't know, and could maybe have looked for some support, because it doesn't end the journey. All those who are carers or have been there, or maybe are no longer, their loved ones are here, but you've still got that remains, and it will always be there. I think having once been a carer, it's always there. I hope people get what I'm saying. If
Julie, it's very confusing, and you're not alone. I mean, a lot of people still don't see themselves as carers, but we've had the issue in NHFT where people said, well, we're not a carer anymore because somebody's gone into a nursing home or a care home. Well, actually, they are, because they're still dealing with caring support. And former carers, we very much made it clear that former carers are incredibly welcome for the reasons that Jane has talked about. They've got experience, they've got knowledge. Yeah, but it is
well,
still
just
a
for
very
the support, I think, because it never leaves, does it? I can't tell you how much it never leaves. You've got it all your life, basically. Once a carer, always in that setting.
But there are some amazing courses that the Recovery College offers as well, where carers can still be looking at their recovery and perhaps their mental health around that loss and getting their lives back and moving on.
So if you've got any information I can get, then I'd be pleased to have it.
Yeah, we'll make sure we provide any links to things that have been discussed.
Brilliant.
Of the
lovely.
slides.
Yeah, thank you.
So we are coming up nearer to 6:30, but Hamid, you've had your hand up for a little while, so I'll bring you in.
Hey guys, yeah, no, just a quick one. Do you know? I don't know. I've got ADHD and my focus is not. But you know, the slide that you guys have been doing, is that going to be emailed over at all?
Yes, they will be. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
I think that's all the questions we've had. There was a question about whether the guide will be available through GP surgeries, which I think Gemma has answered in the chat. So they're trying to get them distributed out hard copy as well. So I will check chat to make sure we haven't missed any questions. Sharon, did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say to Julie, thanks ever so much for coming in there. You know, you're so valuable and so much needed for your carers experience, and you can still change services at any time of your life, whether, you know, you're, as you said, you're once a carer, always a carer. So, you know, and there's lots of opportunities to do that now, either with NHFT or with Northamptonshire Carers or with the councils. So please know you're very, very special person, and there's still so much more opportunities for you to carry on from your caring role as well.
Thanks, Sharon. We've got no more hands up, so on that note, I think I'll say thank you to. Oh, Nicola, did you want to come back in before we?
I was just going to add that most GP practices have social prescribers, and most of those will support carers on their journey as well. So it's worth going in and talking to them.
Yeah, thanks, Nicola. Well, thank you very much to all of our speakers today. There was quite a few of you and all sharing your personal experiences. So thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for everyone for joining us. If anyone thinks of any questions post the meeting, please just do let us know and we'll try and get them answered. But I think we will conclude there and everyone can go and enjoy their evening. So thank you very much, and we'll hope to see you again soon.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.